Well, we're not going to fix the problem, but at least there's some dumb ideas out there.
Get that stuff out of here! It's Southwest Bias!
Welcome into another edition of Southwest Bias, brought to you by our friends at the Husband and Wife Law Team. If you've had a serious injury, call the Husband and Wife Law Team first at 602-783-8841 or visit their website at husbandandwifelawteam.com. And we are live from Studio K, brought to you by our friends at Circle K. Become a member of the Inner Circle today for free by downloading that Circle K app. You know, we've all tried to put lipstick on a pig in our life. We've all tried to make a situation that isn't the greatest look better. Whether you're doing it for the gram, or you're doing it for your family, or you're doing it in business, it's inevitable sometimes because shitty situations come up. Pardon my language, but that's just the truth. And the NBA is facing that right now in a tanking situation. And the former owner of the Dallas Mavericks, a man that has been on this program, one Mark Cuban, came out on Twitter yesterday and tried to provide his viewpoint on how to fix the tanking issue by saying tanking isn't the issue. And we have some quotes from his diatribe of a tweet here. And he said, when I got into the NBA, they thought they were in the basketball business. They aren't. They're in a business of creating experiences for fans. He went on and said, few can remember the score from the last game that they saw or went to. They can't remember the dunks or the shots. What they remember is who they were with. And later on in this, it was a manifesto, he said, tanking isn't the issue. Affordability and quality of the game presentation are. I don't disagree with everything. Affordability in sports is a huge issue. Young fans not being able to get into games, families not being able to go, people like you and the bias having trouble getting to go see your favorite team because you're getting price gouged in every single way. And sure, could some of it be, the peripherals be a little bit more entertaining? Yes. But this premise is extremely flawed because, yeah, you're in the business of entertainment, but that entertainment is the basketball. You have to have an entertaining product on the court. This is not the Savannah Bananas. This is not where the sideshow is the show, where you're going to watch the bearded lady do something crazy. That's why the circus in Barnum and Bailey used to be something that people ran to watch, because of the sideshow aspect of it. But that's not why people come to professional sports. And Mark Cuban completely misses the boat on that. Because sure, you could do crazier things in the arena. You could have somebody on stilts do dunk contests during the timeouts. But if the basketball sucks, it's not going to matter. So you're going, how does this apply to the Phoenix Suns? Well, the last 15 years have been the entire proof of this whole thing and why Mark Cuban is wrong. The Phoenix Suns sucked for a decade. Let's be honest, they were trash. They tried to tank. And guess what? Tanking is flawed in and of itself. Because sometimes you get a star like a Cooper Flagg, and sometimes you get DeAndre Ayton or Michael Olowokandi or Anthony Bennett. Guys that don't change the fortune of your franchise for the positive and actually make it a lot worse. Or you get Josh Jackson or Marquise Chris or my favorite of the group, Dragan Bender. Great name, good player. You destroyed him. But tanking doesn't work. And I was in those arenas. They were dead. They were half empty. They tried everything in terms of in-game entertainment, bringing in concerts, giveaways, trying to make it more entertaining and fun, cheaper tickets. None of it worked because the primary reason that you were going to take an evening, usually a weeknight, and drive to downtown was because you wanted to be entertained by the product on the court. I don't care if you put massage seats in there, TVs in front of you, everything's interactive, and you have the best Wi-Fi in the world, a la Michael Bidwell. If your team sucks, the experience sucks. Because fans do remember the moments in the games. I can tell you, I remember the most impactful games that I went to. And sure, I remember that my dad took me. I remember that some of my family was there. I also remember the Suns played the Jazz in 1993, November of 93 when we went. And that we saw Charles Barkley and Dan Marley play and Kevin Johnson and this amazing Suns team play against Stockton and Malone. I remember in 1996, I sat third row when I watched Charles Barkley grab his 10,000th rebound. I couldn't tell you what music they played. I couldn't tell you how many hot dogs they shot in the stands or what the ticket cost. I couldn't tell you if the gorilla dunked or not that night. What I can tell you is I remember the basketball. That's why we go. That's what galvanizes us. That's what makes us fans. And that's what brings us together as a community. And if it sucks, it doesn't matter what you do with the in-game entertainment. The Suns wind up making a magical finals run. Guess what? The place was more electric than I've ever seen it. Packed, sold out, loud. You know why? Because the basketball was good. Tanking destroys that. And no lipstick, no matter the shade, is going to make that pig any more attractive than it is when the basketball is bad. And sure, maybe 1 year your fan base can accept we're going to have a down year. And guess what? You're going to have a down year when it comes to ticket sales. And if it pans out and you get a generational talent, sure, you'll see the pop. But nobody's going to go, hey, you know what I saw? I saw the greatest DJ ever play at the Mavs game or the Suns game last night, and I got to go back. I got to pay another $100 to go sit courtside, or not courtside, that's a lot more, sit in the lower bowl and listen to this guy mix songs again because it blew my mind. Or, oh, my God. That thing that they did at the first quarter when they gave away pizzas to everybody in an entire 2 sections in the arena blew my mind. Greatest thing I've ever seen. Nobody is ever going to say that. They're going to remember if the basketball sucked. And the Phoenix Suns lost an entire generation, an entire decade of fans because they sucked. The Cardinals were better during that decade. You know what that whole decade looks like? Cardinals fans, less Suns fans, because they remember the crappy basketball, the crappy owner. The Phoenix Suns proved it the last 2 years as well. You got big names. You thought it was going to change things. It didn't. The basketball got bad. Nobody showed up. Even though Matt Ishbia was doing things at the arena to make the experience better. Different scoreboards. Ring of Honor back in there. Cheap food, $2 food, making some tickets more affordable. None of it mattered because the basketball sucked. This year, this team's the anti-tanking team because, and not by some stroke of genius, but because of the decisions they made, they can't tank. They don't have draft picks. So you know what they did? They put together a competitive basketball team. They put together a team that's defying the odds, and the city is interested. The city is bought in. They are selling tickets. They've made the in-game experience better, and it's secondary to make the experience of a good basketball team feel like a holistic experience. But fixing tanking is going to be what helps the NBA, not creating additional entertainment that does nothing to make the product that you were paying top dollar for or bottom dollar, doesn't matter how cheap you make it, it's not going to change it because you're not the Savannah Bananas. You're not playing in some 2-bit league where the sport doesn't matter and the winning and losing doesn't matter. You are playing in the NBA. And the National Basketball Association isn't a sideshow. It's the main event. And the Suns have proved that over the last 15 years. But maybe that's just my Southwest bias. We welcome in one of our mustaches behind the Mac. It is Noah. Noah, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How about you, Espo?
I'm good. Do you go to sporting events because you can see, Red Panda throw some plates onto her foot, or you can see some band that was past their expiration date 10 years ago play at halftime?
Yes.
You are that kind of person. No, nobody does, right, Noah?
No. I don't even think the people that don't particularly watch or enjoy sports on a regular basis, they don't go to a game for that stuff.
No. Who would? Noah, you've watched some bad teams. I mean, what's your take on tanking as a whole? I
think it's around, but I don't know.
It's problematic.
It's just not, yeah, and it's not worth it. I don't think it's worth it at all.
So hello in the chat says, yeah, tanking teams won a title outside of OKC, Spurs, Warriors, Lakers. I mean, true. And even the Lakers in some of those bad Kobe years, they made bad decisions, so they didn't win. And so OKC, sure, but they went into like the greatest insult to tanking ever. And Philly, how about the process? They tanked. Their fans are still of that. The Spurs tanking was lucky 1 year tanking or a couple year tanking, and they get generational big men every time. Tanking is a problem in sports. And thank you to all the bias in the chat. Hello, Connor, Deborah, the usual suspects. Everybody hit that like button, please. That is an important thing to help this program as well. And I struggle with that. It really, I don't know why Mark Cuban's comments on that upset me so much, but as a fan, as all of us are, winning is paramount. And yeah, you accept that you're not going to wind up winning every championship. That was one of his points, and I agree wholeheartedly with that. Suns fans know that. We haven't won any of them. So you understand that only one team out of 30 holds the Larry O'Brien trophy up at the end of the year. But competitiveness is the key. And he talked about hope being the key, and I agree with that. But the hope does not come from, hey, we're going to be bad for a bunch of years and hope we get a number one pick that pans out. Because more often than not, it doesn't. So then what have you done? You've damaged your fan base, and you haven't figured it out. The NBA needs to fix this to make it where there's no incentive to tank, to make it where bad teams can get better along the way. And that is so important. Chef says, I remember that span with Nash, Stoudemire, and Marion. The city was electric for 10 years. The sports bars were all packed, and the fan base was talking about the Suns nonstop. Guess what? That wasn't because the cheerleaders or the dancers or the DJ or the dunk squad or the gorilla jumping through a hoop of fire or because the food was next level. It was because the team was exciting. And guess what? They never won a title. But fans preferred that a hell of a lot more than a decade of where you tried to entertain in other ways except the basketball. That doesn't work. And if that's the NBA's focus, you're never going to fix the flaws that people are complaining about your sport. You're going to turn it all into All-Star Weekend, and nobody gives a crap about all the peripherals in that either. You have to make the product good. And that's whether it's the NFL, the NBA, whatever it is, that is the case. On the other side, we're going to talk some Cardinals. Press conferences happen today. I give them credit. I blasted them yesterday for hiding from everybody. They showed up. They stepped out into the sun today. And we're going to talk about what they said and the ramifications of it right after halftime. Got to tell you about Gila River Resorts and Casinos. We all love Vegas, but you know what we hate? Actually traveling to Vegas. Whether you drive or you fly, it is a giant pain in the ass. And that's why Gila River is bringing Vegas to you at all 4 of their Valley locations, and they're bringing exclusive concerts, extended DJ sets, showgirls, chef-driven dining, pop-up bars, surprise cameos. Who would it be? I don't know, because they're a surprise. Plus, all sorts of great concerts that I mentioned that are already on the calendar, so don't miss it. You can check out that calendar, plus the fabulous Corvette giveaway. You want to ride in style? You want to drive away in style? They're giving away 4 of those bad boys at each location. I saw one of them. It was perfect orange, and I'm ready to win one. I know my wife would love it, and you're going to love it too. So you bring you, they bring Vegas, only at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playgila.com for the full calendar of events. And the husband and wife law team. I joke around a lot on this program. In fact, it's kind of my shtick. But when it comes to serious accidents, serious injury, and of course, wrongful death, I do not joke around about that. You have to find a lawyer that will help you and will take care of the situation. I was in a serious accident that caused injury. I did not do this. I did not do my research, went with the first lawyer I could find. It was a giant mistake. If I had done my research, it would have led me to Mark and Alexis Breyer, the husband and wife law team. They make sure that you are taken care of, that you can reach your lawyer at any time, that they are prepared to go to trial, and that you will wind up with more in your pocket than they have go to their bottom line. That is their promise. Plus, you can cancel at any time if need be. They are here for you, and if you've had a serious accident, you got to call the husband and wife law team first at 602-783-8841, or visit their website in the show notes in our description, and tell them PHNX called you. A big thank you to Noah's favorite band, the Eagles, for playing halftime. I hate Hotel California, so I plugged my ears, but Noah was rocking out. And he loved it. And I hope every single one of you in the bias loved it. I heard sometimes ads play instead of you guys seeing the halftime show. I don't know why, but you know what? That is exactly what I hope you all enjoy and you see is the halftime show. Look, I want to thank all of the bias in the chat for stopping by and checking out the program today. Listening to a little Suns talk. We're going to talk Cardinals with the PHNX Cardinals guys here shortly, and about the press conferences. And I tell you on this program, if I have a take that maybe doesn't make sense in retrospect, I'll bring it up. I gave the Cardinals a hard time yesterday. I said they were hiding. And guess what? They came out of hiding today. They brought out the coaches to talk about the future, why they're here, and more. And I give them credit for it. Now, it's PR 101, like we talked about yesterday. It's the bare minimum. And I'm glad they did it. But we're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down. And I had to bring in not just one PHNX Cardinals guy, 2 of the PHNX Cardinals guys, and their producer behind the Mac. It is Bo, it is Johnny. And I got to admit to you guys, Johnny, I forgot that I had booked you. And then Bo had said, I'll come in after the press conference.
Wow.
Well, Johnny
what
apparently
kind of parent
is muted,
trap is this?
We can't hear Johnny anyway, so I'm glad I got Bo.
That's just how it goes.
Bo, you were out at the press conference. We'll let Johnny figure out his technical side.
You guys, this is you sabotaged me a day after my birthday. I don't appreciate it. Bo, go ahead.
Look, Johnny, you have the best hair on the entire program. Does that help?
Wow.
Even in your late 50s, you look great.
Hey.
Bo, you were out at the press conferences. What did you make of the Cardinals finally getting in front of the mics, talking coaching staff? You had Mike LaFleur, Nick Rallis, Hackett out there. What did you make of the whole thing that you saw?
Well, it's something we knew with Mike LaFleur when that just dreaded coaching search finally came to an end, a conclusion. And the Cardinals, although Kubiak was the last hire officially, but the Cardinals were the last hire. What we knew through all these smoke and mirrors and silence from the organization, no updates outside of insider reports out there, is once you put somebody up in front of a mic, it looks well on your organization. Like Mike LaFleur, and it's pretty easy to do, won the press conference. And that's what we witnessed today. after more silence, more kind of going and running away from this big problem that is, the Cardinals organization. Once you kind of put faces to the new regime, you start to like them. Like you get put at ease more with LaFleur and Nathaniel Hackett and the idea of Nick Rallis returning as defensive coordinator. So that was kind of my overall takeaway. But it was good to hear from Nick, and it was definitely good to hear from Nathaniel Hackett, who's polarizing based on his recent run in the NFL.
Johnny, what was your read of what you heard? And then we can get into some specifics. But what was your general feel when it came to the press conference?
I think it's easy to say, hey, we got honest guys because of how things ended with Jonathan Gannon. But like, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say, like, we vibed with JG early in his pressers, right? Everything, I mean, like, this is an easy box to check, and give them credit. They checked it 6 months before they have to play a game. But it is refreshing. Whatever the Cardinals did with Jonathan Gannon and how he was muzzled toward the tail end of his tenure, it is refreshing to have Mike LaFleur be up there and be transparent and say, like, Nathaniel Hackett is my guy, has always been my guy. I wanted him here. I saw people poo-pooing like his comments saying, well, of course they did. Nobody else would take this job. Like, no, like, they didn't interview anybody else. This was always the offensive coordinator, right? Like, we didn't hear any other names. We asked people on Radio Row. So, like, whether or not you think it's a good decision or not, like, that's a different conversation. But, like, clearly Mike and Matt came together and it was like, we got to get Nathaniel Hackett in Arizona. So, I mean, you watch him today, he's like a big teddy bear. And we knew that. Like, we've had experience with him before as a beat, as All City. Like, he is a very likable guy. And here's the good news for him is that, Nick Rallis took some heat, but it was Jonathan Gannon who got fired because of his defense last year. Like, the offense is going to succeed because of Mike LaFleur or not, right? And Nathaniel Hackett gets to be, like, we've talked about on our show, like, chief vibes officer. And the vibes were good today.
So I gave the Suns credit, or at least didn't rip them for hiring guys with familiarity, and I give MLF a lot of credit for the fact that he stood by Hackett in terms of this, and it's like, I know this guy, I trust this guy, he has experience. That's why he's my guy. I will give him a lot of leeway on that and a lot of rope when it comes to that, and I think that the guy that fixes their PR problems is Mike LaFleur, not putting Monty out there, not putting Michael out there. It's LaFleur that will fix the PR problems in the long run, as long as there's football success. But what I still don't understand is why Nick Rallis came back, because there's no real line connecting that necessarily. So Bo, what did you hear? What was said from Mike LaFleur that kind of explained that, and did you feel any better about it?
I don't know if ultimately you can really kind of feel great, warm and fuzzy about this. I mean, I think you see what Mike LaFleur has learned about Nick Rallis, who we've said, for lack of a better way to put it, like he was held hostage by this organization until, maybe they found a better option. But what I think Mike LaFleur learned about being around Nick Rallis and the conversations they had before they decided to bring him back, that is at least 2 reported offers made between that to Gus Bradley and another name that we should probably don't have permission to say here. But I think, Nick Rallis can really wow you, can impress you. I think he's a guy that where going into last season, you saw the budding defensive prodigy that was going to be on the fast track to becoming a head coach in his own right, and him trying to knock off the remnants of just a brutal season that the previous staff had to endure in 2025. So, I think Nick, he didn't hide from anything. Mike, I asked him, how are the holdovers? How are they buying in? And he was transparent as possible. He says, like, well, to my face, so far, so good. But, I think Nick Rallis, it's a matter of, can you get him back to neutral? Can you get him back on track as far as where he was going into this season? Because obviously in this, recency bias, the fan base, this is something that has left a bad taste in their mouth. But I think Nick Rallis has the ability to turn the tables back in his favor and make himself look like an up and coming, I think leader of men and on that defensive side of the football.
Johnny, a question for you, because internally, everything I've learned over the years makes me want to sit here and go, this was in part a money decision. You've said, and you've been on the record, that this wasn't them going cheap by keeping Rallis. Sell me on why I should believe that, because as much as I want to, that little voice in my head still says, well, this is the Cardinals.
No, I think it's easy to say that, but we had people tell us that they offered more money to Gus Bradley. So, like, if they were going to offer Gus Bradley more money than Tennessee, like, why would they not be aggressive with the rest of their potential staff hirings? You think about what happened with Clint Kubiak. They offered him a substantial amount. He didn't take the job. I think this is very much just like the Cardinals were not an attractive destination for premier head coaching candidates and premier defensive coaching candidates that had options. And, like, do I think they could have hired like an Aubrey Pleasant? Yeah, but like Aubrey Pleasant didn't get another job, right? And I think that they looked at Carl Scott, who turned them down with Seattle, and Gus Bradley, who turned them down, and just probably said, like, what are we doing? We got a guy who's called the defense for the last 3 years here in Arizona. Well, let's try to fill in some gaps on his staff. We're going to talk about his new defensive line coach, which I think is a home run hire, desperately needed in Peter Kwiatkowski, who's been Texas's defensive coordinator for the last 5 years, did a hell of a job there. Like, I think at the end of the day, it was just like, what are we overthinking this? Because I'm sure, and this is what I think was the deciding factor, whether people want to believe this or not, is that Matt has influence on Mike, and good, because Matt's super successful, and Matt's defensive coordinator is Jonathan Gannon. And if those two are championing Nick Rallis to Mike LaFleur, it's like, okay, you might like Aubrey Pleasant. He's never been a coordinator before. Nick Rallis has shut down this offense 2024. Mike talked about it today. So here's the good news for Cardinal fans. If it works, Mike looks like a genius, and you get to pivot into, hopefully a future DC for the next couple of years that has success. If it doesn't work, you fire Nick Rallis next January, and you get a jump start on looking for a defensive coordinator instead of, they were looking for a DC like 6 weeks in. You just, the barrel was kind of picked over. So it's a 1 year flyer wait and see. And I think everybody knows, including Nick, like, he's got a huge magnifying glass on him.
Bo, what specifically did you hear from either of the coordinators that stood out to you?
I mean, Rallis is, when I asked him as far as, are you going to make changes? I think he can't run from that. You have to understand that that's more of his philosophy, is you have to kind of burn it to the ground and then restart anyway, just how often this league changes. So he's very open-minded to changing how things are done. Now, he's not going to just change for the sake of change as well. When you've got Rallis in place, you've got the players that Monty handpicked to fit Gannon and Rallis's system. Does it make sense to depart from, that maybe scheme just to do so, just to say, hey, we're doing it differently. And so I think he's got that mindset that he wants to make sure this works. And now you don't have the head coach in place to where those philosophies are just baked in. So now if Nick has to change and Mike understands it's going to be for the betterment of them playing defensive side of the football, like that's going to be good, instead of JG saying, well, we do this. And I'm not saying that Gannon did that, but you don't have that from your head coaching standpoint. And they can also bounce back stuff like Mike LaFleur. How did he game plan against Nick Rallis? How did they find, holes in his scheme to help them make themselves successful? So I liked what I heard from Rallis. But you get the sense that this added more fuel to Nick Rallis. Like this really this developed maybe a chip on his shoulder where he wants to prove everybody wrong and understand that he wasn't their first choice, and he's going to prove that he should have been the only choice.
Speaking of wasn't first choice, and this is for both of you, we've heard a lot of, in these press conferences, a lot of, mentioning and or thanking Robert Saleh. Obviously, the Cardinals were very interested in Robert Saleh. Should I feel good about the fact that a lot of the guys they wound up with have ties to Saleh, or should I feel like you just got the guys that were around the guy you really wanted?
I mean, I think this is a brotherhood, and I think this is a coaching tree that's had varying levels of success, uber success as coordinators. And listen, I feel pretty confident. I think Bo could echo it. Of like the realistic candidates that they interviewed, Robert Saleh was probably their first choice. Had head coaching experience before, dominated in the division, has put together a pretty good staff in Tennessee. And they couldn't get Robert Saleh, right? Like we never subscribed to the narrative like they were seriously going to get like a John Harbaugh, right, or Mike Tomlin. But like Saleh interviewed with him and was going to do a second, and then didn't get to the second, right? So like they wanted to go from that tree. I love that they're embracing it. I love that Mike had his brother Matt at the press conference. Like, don't be naive to think like, hey, we're going to do it our way. We're going to get coaches outside of this tree to come in and win in the NFC West. It's just, it's fool's gold. So, I mean, like, do I think Robert Saleh is going to have a ton of success with Tennessee? I don't, but I also think that like he would have been a great hire here, and you know he's probably the best defensive coordinator in the NFL.
Bo, do you agree with Johnny's assessment there?
Yeah, I mean, I think Robert Saleh just happens to be part of the new NFL Brat Pack, right? I mean, it's it's Emilio Estevez, it's Charlie Sheen, it's Demi Moore. I might be butchering who was actually
Molly Ringwald part of that?
He was, yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's Sean McVay, probably the leader right now, or Shanahan. But like that's the cool kids as far as the NFL goes, and I think you want to be a part of that. Like Steve Keim and Michael Bidwell wanted to be a part of that at the very beginning with Sean McVay, and they finally got a guy that's in it, and that also plays into the Hackett move, like this conviction that Mike LaFleur has and Nate Hackett. It's like, you want some of the guys from Matt LaFleur's system? Well, this is the guy he picked. It's Nathaniel Hackett. You might not like it, but that's part of, Matt's success, which, Mike wants to be part of his success. So, that's really kind of where the solid thing, where a lot of the kind of the nice things that are being said about him in these press conferences are coming from, is just he happens to be a part of that inner circle.
All right. Question from the bias. Hello says, I've realized the Cardinals are the Sacramento Kings of the NFL. They don't tank or suck on purpose. They just are bad while trying to be good. Do you agree with said comment?
I think they tanked the 2023 season. I mean, and they got gifted a top 5 pick, but yeah. I don't know. I think, for no disrespect to the NBA, like the NFL is king. So I would rather be the most irrelevant NFL franchise than like an upper third NBA team. That's just my opinion. And I think the Cardinals are a Mike LaFleur quality coach hire away from being relevant again. And we like the NBA, unfortunately, it takes purposely tanking to get your act together in a lot of ways, which Espo, I heard your argument, I agree with, which is bad for the league. The NFL does not subscribe to that narrative. You can the right coach and the right infrastructure can get your act together, a la Bruce Arians, in one off season. So I couldn't name one Kings player, by the way.
Sacramento Queens. I mean, I remember. I mean, that was their heyday, and it was they played the bridesmaid. They didn't even get out of the Western Conference Finals. Think about Sacramento, even like those teams like Chris Webber. I remember reading articles is like Sacramento is boring. Sacramento is not a destination. It's hidden up there in obscurity in Northern California, to where, Nate Hackett's coming in today and he's like, this is unbelievable. Like, we're opening up the doors and windows of the office. People are wearing shorts. People have smiles on their face. Gabriel, their or Gobi, their special teams coach. Like, he's elated to be out here. I think it's with the new facility coming, and we'll be at the groundbreaking tomorrow. Like the Arizona Cardinals, like they can make that the new mecca of desert football. And, once people get out here, they realize the hidden gem that is Sacramento doesn't have that.
Final question for you guys. After these press conferences, you project forward to October or November. Are we talking more about Wi-Fi, casitas, or the football on the field?
I think the football. I think anytime you get a new head coach, you're intrigued with what they can bring to the table. A lot of it's going to be dictated on their schedule early. I would love for them to have some cupcakes to be able to get the rust off.
I think you were going to say schedule. I thought you were going to say what was going to dictate is who's playing quarterback for this.
Yeah,
team.
that's where not well said. That's where I'm going next. I honestly, I don't think you have to fast forward to October, November. I think you can fast forward to the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray's going to be gone, and let me just rapid fire real quick. Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Mac Jones, and Malik Willis. One of those 5 or 6 guys is going to be starting for this team. Where will they have them?
Oh, you had to include Aaron Rodgers in that? You had to?
We're playing musical chairs on the show today.
Sorry, just not feeling well. That is Bo Brock, Johnny Venerable. You can watch both of them on PHNX Cardinals today at 4:30. You can follow them on social at Johnny Venerable, at Bo Brock. And thank you guys for stopping by the Southwest Cardinals Bias today. We appreciate it.
If you ever do this again, we quit. I won't be parent trapped into doing a non-PHNX Cardinals with Johnny again.
I think I heard producing too.
I think I heard, but like behind the scenes, Noah was like, "Why is Johnny here?" And I'm like, "Wow, rude." And I'm like, "Now I get it."
Thank you guys. Appreciate you. That is another edition of Southwest Bias in the books. A big thank you to Johnny and Bo, who I accidentally booked on the same day. But you know what? Always great to have a little Cardinals talk in the morning with the boys. A big thanks to Noah behind the Mac. You can follow the show at PHNX_sports. You can follow me at Espo. And remember, Mark Cuban's wrong. It doesn't matter whether you have really exciting halftime acts or quarter break acts. All that matters is winning basketball or winning football games. And hopefully we'll see both this year. Ahoy, hoy.
We all silly like the mayor.